Okay.
How do you like this new setup? Very cool.
Oh.
Very cool. Awesome. And so in that chant that I did for you is about Ram. And I want to just give you two things. I want to give you a little bit of a story about who Ram is in the Hindu tradition and Hindu mythology. But there's kind of a more important layer of this, which is the significance and the mysticism and the metaphysics of the energy of Ram and what that means. And so just really short and in a very abridged version, Ram is an avatar, not the avatar from the movie, but is an avatar of Lord Vishnu. And Vishnu is the sustainer. He's the maintainer. He's the god of the energy that sustains all of the universe and all that we see. And so Ram is an avatar. Buddha is an avatar also of Vishnu. Jesus is an avatar of Vishnu. God coming down to earth, to walk the earth, to kind of show us how it goes, how to do it in practical reality. And so that's who Ram is. Now, Ram was the son of a king, and he was supposed to inherit the throne. But just as it happens to us, life on life's terms shows up. And something happened. There was betrayal, there was this disloyalty, there was this backbiting, there was jealousy, there was all of this stuff that was going on. And so what happened was the king was tricked into believing that it was absolutely critical to banish Ram into the forest for 14 years. So not only did Ram not get the inheritance, not only did he not become king, I mean, imagine this, you're getting called into the office, right, for a promotion, you think, as vice president, and instead they're telling you, we're letting you go. Now, Ram's face, when he walks in after being asked by the king to come in for a chat, he's smiling, you know, he's all smiling. And here he is thinking, him and his wife Sita, they're going to inherit this kingdom and become king and queen, and the father is crying because he has to do this. He has to banish them. It's a very, very long story and much more intricate, but I'm giving you the abridged version, giving you the Rev G version. Ram's face never changes. So he walks in, he's so excited. He can hardly bear the joy of seeing his father, the king, who's going to give him now the throne. And instead the king banishes him, but his face, and it's not one of those phony, do you ever meet people with like a phony face, like they fake it till you make it face? This is like Ram is so filled with joy over whatever the father had to say. And so he's banished. He's banished into the forest for 14 years. Sita, of course, joins him. Hanuman, I talked about that in the, oh my goodness. Wow, it's pretty frightening. It's a pretty frightening picture. Okay, so large, bigger than any. Anyway, so Sita, his wife, joins him in devotion. And if you notice, we talked about Hanuman. Hanuman was also in the chant. Hanuman is a great devotee of Ram. He's a monkey god. And you know, not to get hung up or caught up in the minutia of this, or the myth of this. My guru, Swamiji Jyotirmayananda, always says, don't get caught up in the particulars. Like, did Ram really walk the earth? Was there really a person named Hanuman? All of that. Like, you're missing the point. It's the mysticism, it's the significance, it's the metaphysics of this, it's the energy of this. Hanuman represents an energy that can do the impossible. It's also kind of like a little bit of I say, like a Hindu Catholic saint, St. Jude. You know when you pray to St. Jude for the impossible? Well, Hanuman is kind of like that. Invoking the energy of Hanuman, we can move mountains, because that's what happens. Hanuman actually helps to move mountains, because in this story of Ram, the scripture is called the Ramayana. In this scripture, what happens is Sita, the wife, gets kidnapped by an evil king named Ravana. And she's kidnapped and hidden and tortured, and Hanuman helps to capture Sita and rejoin Sita with Ram. Now Ram eventually kills Ravana. Now here's the thing. Here's the mysticism. Ram represents our absolute self. Ram is God. We are God. Sita represents the intellect. So the intellect gets kidnapped by ignorance. So King Ravana is ignorance, who kidnaps the intellect, right? So ignorance kidnaps our intellect. As soon as we're born, we forget. We've forgotten who we really are, our true nature. The fact that we are from this absolute reality. That nothing can harm us. That nothing is happening to us. That life on life's turns and all of the circumstances of life aren't affecting the true nature of who we really are. But you see, we forget because ignorance has captured and kidnapped our intellect. But it takes devotion. It takes bhakti. We talk about this in the Hindu tradition, bhakti yoga, which is devotion and love and worship of God. That song that we sang, the worshiping of God, the loving of God, the recognition, the saying it out loud, I am God, I am that. Tattvamasi, which is the Sanskrit for I am that. And so this absolute reality, and when you look at the significance of the cross in the Christian tradition, right? We have this absolute reality that we are. We are that essence. We are that source. We are that presence, right? That's who we really are. We're not this body. We know that we're not this body because two things. One is look in the mirror and keep looking in the mirror day after day, month after month, year after year, and you'll see. For those of you who are young, you can't appreciate this. But the older folks can. You keep looking and you're going, who is that? What's happening to this? And it's like something is happening, right? And then eventually it will go away. Like if we fast forward the tape to 1,000 years from now, none of this will be here. And so when we talk about time and space and name and form, it's all illusion. It's all illusion. It's apparent reality. It appears to be real. It appears to be real, but it isn't real. So now you go, I get it, I get it, I get it. I see some heads are nodding. Yes, 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 I understand. But if you're like me, talk to me about practical reality. Talk to me about how this applies in my life, because I get it, like I believe it. I really do, I really believe. Remember that from the Wizard of Oz? I do believe in spooks, I do. I do believe in God. God is all that is. Source, presence, Brahman, whatever you want to call it, Allah. Listen, God doesn't who knows what God calls God's self? Seriously. It's like, what do you call yourself? Because we call you a ton of things, right? But it's the same source. We know what we're talking about. We're talking about this power, this energy, this source that is behind the sun rising and setting. Behind birth. Behind birth. When you think about birth, it's mind-boggling. Like, oh wow, serious? How did you do that? Like, we didn't really do that. We think we did that, but we really didn't do that. There's an amazing divine intelligence. That's your principle today that we're talking about, right? The metaphysical divine principle of divine intelligence. Well, I believe that with all of my being, that there is this absolute reality. I also believe with all of my being that there's this practical reality, because I get caught up in it a lot. A lot. We went, I'm not much of an athlete. I really am not. I know I might look it, but I'm not. I might look like I can do a lot of stuff that I really can't do. or that I'm really afraid to do. And one of those things is kayaking. I mean, my experience with kayaking has always been like, you know, paddle, 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 I'm tired. Can you paddle for me? You know, like that's why I like to get, like, you know, a double kayak. Anyway. So yesterday, we decided we're going to do this kayak thing. And it's like super, super, super duper, like, I called the front desk and I asked them, is it possible, well, or is it a straight run from this hotel to that hotel where our friends were staying? And they say, not really, but it is on the same bay side. So, well, if we just, you know, keep paddling to the right, would we get it? And they're like, well, it's possible. And it's about 1.5 miles down the road, but that's not the way it is via the bay. Like, forget it, right? So we start out, we go beyond our fear, right? Let me keep this in the eye. I go beyond my fear. Because I'm a little trepidatious a little bit about this. It's like, well, I'm not really in good shape at all. I know what it's like to do this. I hate it. I really don't like it even. You know what I mean? It's like not enjoyable to me. But we're going to do it. We're going to kayak to this other hotel and have lunch there. I mean, like, I don't know what I'm thinking. Like, we have like a yacht. We're going to go kayak. So we start out and I'm like, already I can feel like I'm tired. Oh no. Like, we have just begun. It's not, right? You know what I mean? It's an hour and a half of complete non-stop paddling. An hour and a half, right? So we're going and sure enough, it's not really a, you know, short distance, A, B, it's not really a straight shot at all. And you know, you start now losing land and you're losing your way, kind of. You feel like you are anyway. I know I do. I constantly was saying, do you know where you're going? Do we know where we're going? Do we know where we're going? I was like so frightened. You know, and my partner's like, please shut up. Stop. Stop. Just don't talk, okay? And so, you know, she recommends, well, what if we did some japa? Like, what if we did some mantras? What if we sang some what if we did some chanting? And I'm like, oh, okay. Hanumante, Hanumante, Hanumante. So we're doing that, you know, and we're doing Shiva chant, we're doing the Hanuman chants, and we're doing some Ganesha, and, you know, calling all the king's horses and all the king's men to come, you know, and all that. And we got there. I couldn't raise my arm, you know, safe and sound. So now we gotta go back. And we have the option of somebody's gonna like try to put this double kayak in a car and drive us back 1.5 miles down the road. Have it stick out of the trunk, whatever. That would have been the easier option. But we both like kind of said, like, let's kind of finish what we started. You know, let's do it. So, despite the fear, and despite the kind of like fatigue, we did it. And again, it was like, why? Because we had really like literally crossed this big open, I want to say like ocean, but I don't think it was like an ocean, but it felt like that, with rolling hills and everything. You know, and we were saying this morning, we were talking about like the metaphor of like life on life's terms. Like the practical reality. Talk about absolute reality. Yeah, I know who I really am. I am that. I am that nature, right? But then there's this practical reality of these waves and fear and wind, not knowing where you are, right? And all of that has to do with Ram. Because Ram is all about contentment. That's why I put the words up about contentment. Because no matter what, go back to the story, even though he was told, you know, you're not getting coronated, you're getting banished for 14 years, he never flinched. He was okay with what is. He was okay with whatever was happening, with life on life's terms, because he knew the divine plan and he knew who he was. Now, if you're like me, I need tools and techniques. I've been reading this great book. It's called Your Aura and Your Chakras, The Owner's Manual by Carla McLaren. If anybody has ever read it, it's a great book. She talks here about, what she really talks about is cleansing your aura every day and grounding yourself. And so I've been doing it pretty regularly now, and I've really found great results. So I think that this is a great way to invoke Ram energy, to be in contentment with no matter what is going on by doing this exercise. First of all, visualize a grounding anchor coming out of your root chakra. And I kind of like envision this big anchor going all the way down, 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 down into the middle of the earth. Then she says, and then she doesn't say this, but this is Retta G's interpretation. Get another tube, like a dumping tube, and have that inside of your aura, this tube that also goes out, but it's not your grounding tube. This just goes out and down into the earth. But it's not your grounding tube, it's a dumping tube. Visualize your aura like an oval around you. So now you've got this anchor, you've got your aura, which is like about this distance, right? And then you've got a dumping tube. She doesn't call it that, I call it that. Think about an RV, like a dump tube. Dump hose? Okay. If you've never had, you can't relate, and I apologize for the image. Okay. Take an inhale, and as you're visualizing, you're visualizing, you know those vacuum bags that you can get a vacuum bag and you it's a clear plastic bag and you can fit like 1,000 things in it, but if you vacuum the air out of it, it goes like that. So envision that with your aura. So you're taking a big inhale, all the way in, and all of the negative energy, all of the negative stuff, all of that sludge, that schmeng, that whatever, darkness that you're feeling, like fear, like anxiety, like sadness, goes into the dump tube and gets sucked right out into the middle of the earth, which can accept it and transform it. She says, if you still see schmeng, she doesn't say schmeng, she says sludge. If you still see that, do it again. Keep doing it until it's clear. Then breathe out. And you got a clean aura. Now this is the best part. She says, place a sentry in front of your aura. She says, do a flower. I like to put one of my guides there. I have some spirit guides. I actually need two. I need two. What can I tell you? One is too many, and the other is never enough. So I put 2 sentries in front of my aura. They protect me. I also have 2 of my guides behind me. They also protect me. And then what she says to do is to place 100 gifts in front of you that roll out ahead of you, almost like a magic carpet unfolding ahead of you, so that wherever you step in your day, it's all of these gifts, all of these flowers. She says, envision flowers and all different kinds of flowers that are coming out. So every time you step, you're stepping, and all of these flowers are gifting every single contact before you get there. All of the traffic, your emails as you're about to open your email, as you're about to make the phone call, as you're about to step into your work, as you're about to step into wherever you step. Offer gifts. It's like puja, it's like worship. It's like giving worship to all of the contacts. And what I envision to be is, I'm gifting life on life's terms. I'm gifting my practical reality. And it's like a magic carpet. And then I get to ride this magic carpet of contentment. Because no matter what is happening, I've placed gifts ahead with an open heart. And I think of these gifts as joy and gratitude and acceptance. And you know what? I love this card that you guys have, this fruit, the fruit of the Spirit, because joy is on here. If I put joy and acceptance for the divine plan, knowing that who I am, You see, that's the reason Ram never flinched. Because there was nothing to worry about. King, no king, forest, no forest, didn't matter. Raining, not raining, got my raise, didn't get my raise, got fired, got hired, found the love, lost the love. Like it doesn't matter. Because it's only matter. And when I placed this magic carpet of flowers and gifts of joy and acceptance and gratitude, everything gets transformed, and I shift my perspective, knowing that I can be content no matter what is going on.